Hello and welcome to a journey into the depths of the human mind. Today, we are diving into one of the most influential and controversial works in modern psychology, Sigmund Freud's 1923 book, The Ego and the ID. This work is revolutionary in understanding the architecture of the human psyche, offering a map for exploring how our mind truly functions. Today, we will explore all the major ideas of this work in one continuous flow. The human mind is complex, often chaotic, and filled with unseen forces. Freud, after years of clinical observation and psychoanalytic work, realized that the mind is not just made of consciousness. There are forces, desires, and conflicts within us that we are not aware of, yet they continuously shape our behavior. This insight led him to describe the mind in terms of three main structures: the ID, the ego, and the superego. In this presentation, we will focus on the ID and the ego, because Let's start with the ID. The ID is the most primitive part of the psyche. It is the source of desires, impulses, and energy, constantly seeking pleasure. The ID wants immediate satisfaction. It does not delay gratification and disregards social rules. Simply put, the ID is like the child within us. It wants what it wants immediately, without limits or control. Basic drives such as hunger, sexuality, and aggression originate from the ID. But this limitless power of the ID would be chaotic for both personal and social life. This is where the ego comes in. The ego emerges from the ID, but differs in that it operates in connection with the external world. The ego takes the strong impulses of the ID and channels them in ways that are compatible with reality. Freud uses the metaphor of a horse and rider. The ID is the horse, powerful and wanting to run in any direction it pleases. The ego is the rider, guiding and controlling it. The ego is not just a control mechanism. Part of it is conscious, and part operates unconsciously. This means that while the ego manages the relationship with the ID, it often does so without full awareness. The ego can repress, delay, or appropriately satisfy the desires of the ID. This process is called repression and is a key dynamic of the unconscious. Repression removes socially unacceptable impulses from consciousness, but they do not disappear. They remain hidden from conscious awareness. This struggle and repression are at the core of human behavior. The human psyche is in constant conflict. The ID seeks pleasure, the ego negotiates with reality, and the superego imposes ideals and moral values. The interaction among these three structures determines our behavior, emotions, and thoughts. The ego sometimes yields to the demands of the ID, sometimes postpones them, and sometimes rejects them. This ongoing struggle creates the dynamic personality and the complexity of our mental life. Freud redefines the unconscious within this structure. The unconscious is no longer only the domain of the ID, it also includes content repressed by the ego. This reveals the true power and complexity of the mind. Our conscious self manages only a small part of mental life. The real forces operate unconsciously and shape our behavior. Even as the ego seems to control the ID, it is constantly interacting with it, and this interaction affects the unconscious. Freud's understanding revolutionized our approach to human behavior and mental processes. The mind cannot be explained solely through consciousness. Unconscious processes, repressed material, and the influence of the ID form the foundation of human behavior through this structure. Our dreams, fantasies, and unconscious choices can be understood. Dreams, in particular, are expressions of repressed desires from the ID, often symbolized because direct expression could be threatening or disturbing. This model also provides insights into everyday life. Why do we sometimes act against our own intentions? Why do dreams carry hidden meaning? Why do we make seemingly irrational decisions? According to Freud, the conscious self manages only a small part of mental life, while the unconscious operates beneath the surface. The dialogue between ego, ID, and superego, along with processes like repression and symbolization, governs our behavior at a fundamental level. In conclusion, Freud shows us that the human psyche, while appearing chaotic, operates according to a complex and structured system. the continuous struggle among ego, ID, and superego, along with mechanisms of repression, delay, and compromise, along with the interplay of conscious and unconscious processes, forms the basis of human behavior. The conscious self is only the tip of the iceberg. The real power and struggle lie beneath, unseen. Freud's The Ego and the Id is not just a psychological text, it is a manifesto for understanding human nature. This structure allows us to comprehend the complexity of mental life, the power of the unconscious, and the constant tension between the ego and the ID. Remember, the human mind is a battlefield. The ongoing conflict among pleasure, reality, and moral ideals makes life both complex and rich.